I recorded a video death and other cute ideas the other day and enjoyed doing so very much. Today felt inspired to offer an alternative perspective that's equally important and valid, and if I remember the essence of what I was pointing to in that video, contradictory. So what I was pointing to as I perceive it was the unreality of death, the eternal nature of this being, of what I am, of what you are. We might call this the non-dual or absolute perspective, where death is seen through. It's understood to be, known to be simply an idea in the mind. Either this is seen, either this is known, or it is not. Second-hand insight is not so useful. In fact, it can be problematic. The Buddha declined to comment on matters such as the afterlife and so on. So far as we know what the Buddha said, preferring to point to more practical, helpful perspectives about this life, what we know can determine in our own experience right now, and I think that's a very wise pointer. My hope would be to lessen suffering, to create clarity rather than add to the already abundant confusion within the spiritual conversation, the many spiritual conversations that exist around the planet today. And so, having established that death does not exist, there is only life, I would like now to embrace the reality of death. I was prompted to do so by, I connected with a friend, Tim Freak, and two things arose and caused a connection to form in my mind. Tim lost his mother recently, and I know Tim well enough to know that he was close to his mother, and I assume this would have caused considerable grief, feelings of loss. And Tim elucidates a beautiful concept, a beautiful lens in his book, The Mystery Experience, and he calls it paralogical thinking. And I think it's a really valuable contribution to our spiritual conversation, because it points to the reality that many truths have opposite truths that are equally profound but apparently contradictory, and to grasp reality, to start to see more clearly, we need to develop the capacity to, as Einstein put it, to hold two opposing ideas in mind at once. He defined that as being genius. We all need to access this genius within ourselves to understand that, as in this example, just as there is no such thing as death, we are eternal beings, both eternal, impersonal being and eternal, personal beings. Paradox upon paradox. let us not bypass the reality of our human experience. So I wanted to emphasize the more immediately obvious, conventional, and equally valid and true reality. We might call it the perspective within duality, or the relative perspective, as opposed to the non-dual or absolute perspective, whatever, which is that death is real, and it's a gift. And it's this perspective that actually informs more the chapter in my book, Blessed with a Brain Tumour, Death is Gift, or the Gift of Death. And part of the purpose of these videos is to give a flavour of some of the thinking and perspectives such that people can be informed and inspired to get themselves a copy of Blessed with a Brain Tumour or not. So death is certain. Death is, and death is certain. This is obvious. Its timing uncertain. So what is important now? And this is one of the gifts I want to share from my experience of the last few years since I was diagnosed, is this sweet impermanence of our existence and the importance of the choices we're making in each and every moment, where we're giving attention, what story we're choosing to tell about reality, or indeed whether we are telling stories about reality or just resting in this perfect being, enjoying this stillness, enjoying this peace. Steve Jobs called death the greatest invention. This has profound truth, does it not? What is important now? This question wouldn't have such power or pertinence if death were not real. Life is a near-death experience. Any moment we could pass, as my dear friend Vicky pointed out when I was diagnosed with some perspicacity. Your circumstance is no different from yours, from mine or anyone else's as well. It's just that it's more obvious for you. The wisdom she was pointing to was, of course, the reality that we're all moments away from death. So what to do with this moment? Such a powerful question. Embracing our death, embracing our mortality, embracing the reality that in this physical form we have limited time. We're compelled, inspired, encouraged to get on with doing what's truly important to us, what's important on our path. So for me it's being a source of love and truth, getting on with it. It's receiving the ever-present love that is all around me, integrating, embodying the reality of this love, loving. One of the first things I did after diagnosis was to gather my family together and just take some time to clearly communicate the depth of my love for them, the depth of my appreciation for their unique beings, the depth of my appreciation for all the errors, mistakes, ignorances, silliness that we had all carried out, and to let them know that this was all perfect and wonderful contribution to my journey and could not have been any other way. So my invitation to you today, the other video having embraced the non-reality of death, to rest in this peace of our eternal being, today is to remember death is certain, its timing uncertain. So, what is important now? What feeling will you invite into your experience now? What might you do with the next 5 minutes? Does Facebook really need to be checked? Is there someone that you could tell your love? Is there someone that you could share your love for them with? Is there someone that you could forgive? Is there someone that you could remember is pure spirit, did nothing wrong, could not have done anything else, to bring yourself into love and peace with them? In your mind, in communication? How about writing that poem that was in your mind 2 days ago? How about starting that project that inspires you? Drafting that letter of resignation from your job which dulls your soul? How about taking a moment right now simply to breathe in this love? To know yourself in this moment as whole and complete, perfect as you are, loved on a level and on a scale unimaginable within our human experience. Death is certain, its timing uncertain, so what is important now? I hope you enjoyed this little exploration. My website is willpie.com, and I would love you to enjoy the book here on it's available for my crowdfund on indiegogo.com, Blessed with a Brain Tumor. If I've been successful in imparting a tiny fraction of the joy, delight and wisdom that was imparted to me over the last few years since I was diagnosed with a brain tumor in that book, then it will have value for you. And you can get a copy through the crowdfund for as little as like $10 for a digital copy. I'd love to have your support. Thank you for listening to what I have to say.